Take us away, leave the city behind. We're on our way to find blue skies.
Hey everyone, welcome to Trail Sage, and this week we're talking about climbing. Now, I realize this isn't the sexy topic to cover on YouTube, but hey, it's something we all have to deal with, right? Well, out here on the East Coast, my trails are littered with these punchy little climbs, and I've learned to love the challenge. And my hope is that with some of these tips, you might be able to learn to love them too, or at least tolerate them. But before we get started, please know I'm not an expert, nor am I a coach. I'm just a rider looking to help other mountain bikers with advice and techniques that were passed on to me by other riders. And of course, a few that I had to learn on my own the hard way. For every climb, there are 4 key techniques to think about: momentum, cadence and gearing, body position, and line choice. So let's start with momentum. This method is extremely effective on smaller climbs where short amounts of massive power can get you to the top. If you're fortunate enough to have an unobstructed straight shot into a climb, then momentum can be your best friend. Having power and speed can hide the mistakes in your line choice as well as your gearing. But be aware, this isn't a cure-all for picking a bad line or getting stuck in the wrong gear. Using momentum, you can approach the climb by sitting or standing. Standing usually involves a harder gear, slower cadence, and oftentimes brute power. If you choose to sit, your cadence will tend to be higher and require fewer adjustments to your body position as you navigate the line. Regardless of whether you stand or sit, the key is to build up your speed and then try and maintain it throughout the climb. The next key is cadence and gearing. Most of us get to a climb and immediately slam it into the granny gear and start trucking away. Perhaps you're dreaming about that sweet downhill that lies ahead, or maybe it's breakfast waiting for you after the ride. But for technical climbs involving rocks, roots, log overs, or step-ups, slamming it into the lowest gear is actually the worst thing that you can do. Having your gearing low will cause you to spin out the minute that you have to unweight the back wheel. If you're on 11 or 12 speed, try and shift up 1 or 2 gears the next time you're on a technical climb. I know it may hurt more, but having less torque will improve your traction and also give you the added power to make it up that step up or rock garden. There's an additional benefit to going up 1 or 2 gears. Assuming you can still keep a higher cadence and therefore slightly higher speed, your front tire will also track better. For instance, have you ever been on a chunky climb and your front tire feels like it's finding every single crevice? Well, some extra speed will help your wheel stay straighter. So let's move on to the next key, body position. Body position is a really complicated topic, and it's affected greatly by the kind of bike that you're riding. If you're on a hardtail, you'll have to be more active in how you position yourself to keep optimal traction. Oftentimes, you'll have to transition between sitting, hovering, and standing. If you're in a section that's especially technical, try and utilize your dropper post to give you optimal movement as you tackle any obstacles. Unlike a downhill where you drop it and leave it dropped, when you're climbing, you may only drop it for a few seconds at a time. If you're on a full suspension, then you'll have the luxury of staying seated for more of the time. However, just like a hardtail, you'll still have to get out of the saddle and actively maneuver the bike to tackle any big obstacles. Regarding your upper body, the more slack your bike, the more that you'll have to stay on top of your front wheel. Sitting straight up will cause your front tire to wander as the grade gets steeper and steeper. Finally, don't get caught with your head down. One of the things I struggle with the most is keeping my head up during a difficult climb. I often find myself staring straight down at my front tire when the going gets tough. But just like in downhilling, you should always be actively checking your line choice. For instance, I like to use the 2-5-10 rule. The first thing to do is to get an overall picture of the climb. As you start climbing, scan 10 feet in front of you, then 5, and then finally 2. The area right in front of your front tire is actually the least important because it'll be too late to course correct if you haven't been actively paying attention to what lies ahead. Personally, I keep my focus in that 4 to 5 foot range for about 60% of the time. The other 40% I spend switching back and forth between 2 and 10 feet. Speaking of scanning ahead, let's move to the next key, and that's line choice. All the technique, power, and style can't help you if you pick a terrible line. I mean, how many times have you hit a rock the wrong way and it pushes you into another rock and then you end up way off the trail with no way of recovering? While scanning ahead and anticipating pitfalls will go a long way in how well you do. Also, when it comes to line choice, sometimes the best line isn't always to go around something. If you find that going around an object takes away all your momentum or puts you in a worse position for the next obstacle, then attacking the problem head on could actually work out better. This could mean going straight over a rock instead of around it. So in conclusion, if you're struggling with a certain segment, I hope some of these tips will help. As with anything, all these things take practice. Try and session a section a few times, and most importantly, be patient with yourself. Also, it might help to watch somebody do it first. This can give you a better idea of what gear to be in, what line to take, and how to maneuver your bike around a certain obstacle. I know I've had a lot of help from friends and strangers, and it's only made me a stronger rider today. Well, that's it for this week's episode. I hope that was helpful to you. If you feel like I missed anything or you want me to cover anything in more detail, let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video and you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching.